Wrong week to quit sniffing glue.
Batgirl, 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 Batgirl.
Well, good morning. It is Monday, and the reason you're not seeing me is I haven't showered yet, and trust me, no one needs to see that first thing in the morning. So, these are the two subjects for this week. I've given the entire weekend for the epoxy sculpt to cure and to dry and to set up, and everything's looking good there. So a quick yellow patch in here, and then some purple, and we will be good to go. And as far as the face is looking good. Just a little bit of red tinting around the neck, I think, and maybe a little bit more on the blush, just a little bit heavier on the blush, and then give that a good sealing coat, and the head will be ready to glue on. So I think we're looking at finishing up Batgirl pretty early this week, and then we can put a lot of the attention on to the Zaku, which is the mega grade size Zaku. And what I do like about this character, I mean, there's a lot to like about it. I'm not going to him and haw and say there isn't. There's a lot to like about it. But what I especially like about it is the modular nature of it, which means I can take the arms off, take the legs off, do a certain amount of disassembly, and keep those parts safe and away, and paint them and do this. There's seam work that needs to be done, like on the arms and pieces of the arms, but I could do that kind of away from the rest of the kit and then reassemble it when I need it. Here's a prime example. I said prime example, and I've got primer paint on it. But something like this, where that is the, no matter how much you squeeze these two pieces together, you're going to see that seam there, which is ugly and nasty, and no one likes it. But you put a little bit of, you glue it together, you put a little bit of spot putty over top of it, and you can get rid of it completely and have a nicer looking kit, but still have the leg, removable. There are parts that, like these hoses or belts or whatever they are, you can make them still be posable and retain all of that feature, but you can also take care of the seams between the front and the front and back half. But anyway, that's what I'm going to be doing. I'm disassembling the major sections and cleaning up the seam work on it. So I've done a little bit of a fantastic voyage all on my own, and I tore all the head apart and got down to the bare bones of this head. And I don't know about you, but don't you dare give me a robot that has one sweeping eye that goes back and forth and then tell me not to light it. It's just unnatural. I won't stand for it. Luckily, I have one light left over from the Fantastic Voyage LEDs that I was making up. Remember, I cast up some tiny LED or surface mount LEDs into a little block of clear. Well, I had one left over that I didn't use. So what I'm going to do is very easily take this guy, shove him in the back of the head, and use him as a eyeball. Now, I'm thinking that I was supposed to do this because the back of this kit part has a hole right there to run a chase wire down, which is awfully convenient if you weren't expected to light this thing up. And there's enough removable panels in the chest that I can easily get a battery to that and be able to remove the panel and replace the battery when needed, and hide a switch on it. So just making the model that much more fun for me. There you go. Not nearly red enough, and I need to do some painting inside that head to finish off the inside, but that's the idea. It's a whole lot brighter already. Now I'm going to do a lot of light blocking on the sides of that clear piece so that the light only comes out the front. But I'm going to wait for the putty that I've put in there to set it in place cures. So, but now we got some life. Now there's somebody home. Alrighty then, the Gundam is cleaned off. It's I've got some sections glued together, and that's curing, and That is off the table now, and I have got this area taped off carefully where I want to apply the yellow to kind of build this back up. I need to do a dark yellow in this crease, and then I'll hit it with the highlight. Put the dark yellow in first. I don't care if I get paint on these because I'm going to be hand painting over them. That's better. That's better. Got the darker yellow. It has been in there and drying, so now I'm going to try hitting it with the regular yellow to hit the highlights and blend that stuff in, and then we'll be ready to take the tape off. Welcome back. We are into Monday evening, and this has been drying all day, and I do not want to put any tape over it to paint the purple today because I just want to make sure it's had plenty of time. I don't want to risk the chance of pulling up any paint when I pull the tape off. So what I'm going to do is take some purple paint that is close to this, and I'm going to lightly paint it on so that it'll act as a base coat, so that when I go to spray another coat on it tomorrow, all I have to do is a very, very light coat of that, and then the sparkles over top of it, and that will take care of it without having to put a mess of tape down and all that. And I'll probably do the same with this, just put a base coat of the purple, the glove color over that, so that the spray doesn't have to do the whole work. There you can see I got the three colors laid in. I've got the dark purple in here, and I've got the purple for the glove, the lighter purple for the glove laid in, and I'll let that dry overnight, and tomorrow I will dry brush over it and put the sparkles on that, and we'll call the body done. A done thing. We're getting down to very, very, very few things left to do. I've got the head and cowl. I'm calling that done. I finally finished the hair to the point where I just came to a stalemate with it and said we're going to call it done. I've got a little bit left of rouging to do on the face, and it'll be done. And putting the cowl on, and then we are very, very close to finishing. Very close. Happy Tuesday to you all. It's a beautiful day weather-wise, so before I start into doing some yard work, I thought I would take the opportunity to lay the Zaku parts out and prime them as best I can. I got some black primer and some gray primer going on, depending on where on the kit they land. All the internals I'm doing with the black primer, all the externals I'm doing with the gray primer. Pretty simple. So while this is baking in the sun, I will try to do some yard work today. Okay, I've got a little bit more delicate work to finish on Batgirl's body today, and that is chiefly to repair this purple under here, which means carefully masking the yellow and praying that it doesn't get pulled up. So what I'm going to do is decant some of the purple from the big spray can, the purple metallic from the Tamiya, and give it a quick zotz right in there, and then the only thing left to do is to put the sparkles on. I don't know how well the sparkles will go through an airbrush. I don't have much hope for that, so I may have to just decant some into the lid and then just dab the sparkles on to reestablish them. And then we'll be down to doing the dry brushing on this glove, and the body will be done. Well, that was surprisingly successful. And I think rather than jinx myself, I will let it sit for a good long while and then come back to it a little bit. It looks like I may not have to put the sparkles on because the metallic purple had enough sparkles in it that I think just in that area we can live without putting any more sparkles on. Well, hello, and it's Wednesday today. Yes, it's Wednesday all day. And I wanted to take a minute out of the normal build to show you what came in the mail today. From Steve at called TV Man, a fine Joe if there ever was one. It is the actual production version of the Proteus, and people would say, Lou, why are you worried about building a Proteus? You just built one. Well, I wanted to, since this is a unique situation, wanted to be able to give my impressions of the kit versus the test shot. And this is maybe a lot of inside baseball for some folks, but I can't wait to dig into this because I am so happy to see finally a sorry, I'm doing all this off camera, a crystal clear window set. I cannot wait to get into that. It's going to be so much more fun knowing that I'm going to see all of the detail. And I will be hanging on to this kit until Paul finishes up his etch, because I'm going to be doing the etch and the lighting and all of that. But I am much, much happier with, well, first of all, this tub. The tub in the test shot was kind of I think the pins were too big. And it was really a struggle to push it all the way down in and have it sit. I ended up reaming out these posts a little bit more so that I could fit that down in there, and I don't have to do that anymore, so that makes me happy. And the joint between the top and bottom of the ship is so much cleaner, particularly where the fin goes. I'm trying to do this with one hand. Hold on one second. That's the joint I'm talking about. That's a lot cleaner than it was in the test shot. So I'm looking forward to putting that together for that reason alone. And doing a couple of other fun things to it. I'm going to see if I can find a way to make the hatch open and close. That will be fun. And I'm going to do my cutaway here again, because I think that worked very well. And I've got some new ideas for lighting. And I did go ahead and get the lighting kit from Voodoo Effects. I highly recommend it. If only for that tiny strip of LEDs, but really the whole thing is good. But I'm going to go back to using the tiny surface mounts. But the parts are so much cleaner because the molds have been polished. And there was a mold line here that was, you can still see it in certain lights, certain angles, but it is no way near as prominent as it was on the test shot. And that's going to make cleanup a lot easier. There was another line right here. So yes, looking forward, and all the stuff that I've learned on the first one, really looking forward, and an actual set of decals. Won't that be nice? Looking forward to working on the finished version. And I got another neat surprise, and I don't like to toot my own horn very much because the sound of it can be deafening. But I got through looking through the instructions, and surprise of my surprises, my name is listed on the back on the special thank you. Well, I'll give you a special you're welcome to Frank and to Dave for that. And the reason that's a surprise, because on the set of instructions that I was given for my preliminary build, my name was not on there. So it kind of stopped at Rob. There was Darren and Greg and Rob, but they put Drew's name in and Jeff Wargo's name and my name in, and I think that's quite neat. I may have to frame up these instructions after I finish with them. But this will be a build in between some of the other builds this spring. If you haven't gotten yours, I highly recommend it. I realize I'm moving at the speed of a glacier on this Batgirl figure, and partly it's because I'm this close to finishing it and I don't want to end up screwing it up by doing something stupid, and partly it's because I'm to that point where I am stalling because I really don't want it to be done. I always hit this part in every model that I build. It's like it would only take me a concentrated effort of a few more hours to finish it, but I keep putting it off and putting it off because I just want to keep building. So I'm taking it nice and slow so that I don't overspeed and do something stupid. I've finished the work on the glove. I did a dry brush pass with a brighter purple to bring out the wrinkles and creases, and that's done. The only other thing I've got left to do is to touch up just the front of this bit here and a little bit up in there with the burgundy color. I'll do that this evening. I've got to put a little bit more rouge on the face and it'll be done. I did work on the lips. I reddened them up a tiny bit. I don't necessarily agree with the pictures that show a really bright red lipstick on Batgirl. The publicity photo that I'm using as a reference does not have bright red lipstick, so I'm sticking with that. Yeah, I'm just down to a few little things, but I'm to that point where I don't want to really be finished with it. So that's what's taking so long. Good morning, it's Thursday, it's the gateway to the weekend, and today we are going to finish Batgirl. for two reasons. One, because it's taken long enough. It's time to finish. Time to stick a fork in it. And secondly, I need the space. I can't work on the Gundam. I need a table, and I need all the space I can get, and this is taking up space. So we are down to the final rows, and let's get to it. We have a lovely face here. I need to add a little bit more rouge too. And we're going to do all of this bit of construction off of the rest of the body, because it's delicate work and needs to be handled separately. So the important thing today is going to be getting the cowl attached to the mask in such a way that you use minimal amounts of adhesive and you do not get anything on the lovely skin. So I'm going to ponder the best way of doing that, and then we're going to tack the whole thing to the shoulders. And to do that, we're going to have to put some filler in here, either epoxy sculpt or the two-part putty, only because when this sits, let me take the cowl back off, when this sits, it's important for it to, take the face off, it's important for it to sit in such a way that the head is at the correct angle and takes out the gap that is right here. So pushing that down means I'm going to have to sit it kind of like that to tilt her head, which means I'm going to have to shove some putty up under the back of her hair to kind of hold it in place like that. So that's the job for today. Okay, the deed is done. The face is glued into the head and the cowl is glued onto the face, epoxied to be exact. So I'm going to let this set for a few hours at least before I go about attaching it to the rest of Batgirl, and she shall be complete. Good morning, it's Friday, and it's what I promised to be the last day of the Batgirl build. You may notice she is still headless, and she is headless for a good reason. Well, here's the head. All the parts are glued together, everything is looking very good. I only want to glue this on one time, so let's make sure that we're ready for it. Where we are at, and this is why it may sound like an elaborate stall, but I promise you it is not. I did some work on the cape. I did some work patching and repairing, and I noticed that in all of the hubbub of getting it done, I forgot to give it a good final satin clear coat. And that needs to be done when it is fairly warm outside. The last couple of times, most notably on the chairs, the Trek chairs, that I got some onion peeling on the paints was because the paint itself was too cold and the subject I was painting was too cold. So it's supposed to be warm today. I'm going to let it warm up a little bit outside. It's still morning, and about noonish it should be warm enough to take this outside, and I really want to give it a nice light coat of the clear finish. I'm going to tape off the unaffected areas, but I want to give that a nice light coat of the satin clear finish before I glue the head on, just in case anything goes awry and I have to back up and repaint anything. I'd rather not have the head attached at that point. But it's a simple thing to do once I get to it. It's got a nice pose. It's got a spot to lock it in there, and some 5-minute epoxy, and it'll be done. But I'm just hedging my bets. I don't want to have this delicate, valuable, carefully painted piece anywhere near this affected area if something goes awry, and that's the only reason I am stalling on that, because I need to get this table cleaned off so that I can get on to the Zaku painting today. And here is the table full of Zaku. I've got 3 distinct areas that I want to paint. All of this is going to get a gunmetal base. That's the elbow joints, the knee joints, the hands, the torso, things like that. The mechanical parts, for lack of a better term. There is a second color for the skirt area, which is not this piece. but all of this is like a skirt and vest area that needs to be a similar, the same color. And then the rest of it is the armor color. These hoses, I'm probably going to make armor color as well. And the weapons, which will probably get the same gunmetal color as the rest of that. But so I'm thinking about colors, and I'm trying to avoid any overt colors that you might see on a transformer. So yeah, I was thinking it might be nice to do the legs in blue and the chest in red, but then it looks too much like Prime. I don't want to do any purples, because I just did a purple figure with Batgirl and I'm sick of purple. So no purples and bright greens, so no Decepticon colors. So I'm toying with what colors I want to use for what elements, and again, I've got an armor color, a vest and skirt color, which is still metal, but on the figure it looks more like a skirt and not a skirt, a kilt, a manly kilt, not a womanly skirt, but a manly kilt. And then the armor accent color. So that's what I'm playing with on those. And let's get this over to the table as soon as we can get Batgirl off of the table. Well, now, while I am waiting for it to warm up outside, which is a process I have absolutely no control over, I can start doing some of the inside gutsy painting on the Zaku, and do some of the gunmetal, like I said, on the joints and elbows and stuff, because I haven't decided the outside colors yet, and I think I may end up using a combination of enamels, which means ventilation and opening windows and putting in the paint booth and all that kind of stuff. Again, has to happen in warmer weather. So let me take care of what I can with the Tamiya gunmetal. Actually, it's a gunmetal metallic gray mixture. So let's do that. Okay, I've got the first color down on the Zaku. It is a mixture of my own devising. It is a little bit of turquoise with some interior tan and some reefer white on top. I wanted to go for that 50s type of appliance turquoise. That's not a real strong turquoise, it's more of a creamy version of that, so that's what I did. And I've got these parts hanging in a drying, and I'll let those go for a while. Since they are enamels, I'll let them dry up for a good long while before I do any touching to them. But that'll be a good base color, and then I can do some tones and variations. And I'm really eager to use this detailing pen, which is made for Gundams, that lets you draw inside the panel lines to give you that anime look, and that's what I want to do. Okay, I'm happy with my clothing color, for lack of a better term, the skirt and the vest. The armor color, I want to be able to do some interesting things with that, so I want to pick something that I can put darker highlights, or darker shadows on, and lighter highlights on, and I'm going to try it out on this leg piece, and also the back of the hand, because I want to see how it looks against some of the other kit's parts, colors that I have painted. So I'm going with a Panzer Olvengrün, and I'm going to lighten that up with the same interior tan that I used on the turquoise to make it more pastel. But by picking a mid-range, I can still see the white decals against it, plus I can do some dark washes against it. So let's try that out and see how well it works. I'm saying all this now because as soon as I get to put the mask on, you wouldn't be able to understand me at all. And what has to be the weirdest display of laundry hanging out to dry, I've got parts of the turquoise and parts of the olive drab green drying for the rest of the afternoon, and we'll see where the day takes us on getting any more of this done tonight. I'm going to let this set up really well, and then come back after I finish Batgirl and give it another look-see. And here is Batgirl out in the daylight with her cape newly satin sprayed, and I have to say I see no onion peeling happening, so I'm very happy about that. Let this dry for a bit and pop her head on, and we should be well and truly finished. Good deal. And there she is with her head upon her, not glued down yet. I'm going to take it inside and do that thing, but I thought you should see it out. Now it's in the shade, but it is at least out in the sunshine. I know those things don't sound like they go together, but it is outdoors, but it's in the shade. How's that? So let's take it inside and glue the head down and call it done, please. Here's a little bit of the Gundam in a nutshell as far as the colors. That you see how the three main colors are working with each other. And of course everything from here on will be variations and shades and tones of these three colors, but I wanted to first see how well they were, or how harmonious they were going to act together. Okay, one last thing to mention before we put the head down on Batgirl is you can't help but notice there is going to be, once you push this down in place, a little bit of a gap right at the base where her neck, see I'm accentuating, but right there where the neck meets the cape. So I think what I'm going to do is roll up a little ball of epoxy sculpt and kind of goosh it in there so that it fills in, and if I have to touch up the paint of that after everything is dried, then that's what I'll do. But better that than having to see a big old gap inside there. Okay, I've put him back together. One of the things I really like about these Gundam kits is the ability to disassemble them and reassemble them many times. Now, outside of the annoying hoses, which I have not put back on, I have put him back together so that I can judge how the colors are all looking. And this is where I'm going to leave him for the weekend, because these enamels could stand to have 2 or 3 days to dry. I'm in no rush, and I could start doing the weathering next week. Let's go get the finished Batgirl. I decided it was better to bring them both outside than to try to drag Batgirl into the work desk. And yeah, I still got the eye lit up on Zaku, and you can see his color's much better outside than you can inside. I have not put the final color on his feet yet, which are going to be that green. And there's a third color I'm going to introduce and all that. So he's far from done, but I wanted to put him back together at least. And ladies and gentlemen, I have a finished Batgirl. There is one tiny seam that I need to go over, and that is where I put the epoxy sculpt around her neck, and I am not going to cover that in this video. I'll show how that turned out on future videos, but since it needs to dry at least overnight, I am calling the Batgirl at least finished. And next week I will be concentrating on the weathering of this young gent. And that's going to bring us to the end of another week, and by no small coincidence, the end of another project. The Batgirl, she is a finish. Like I said, outside of that one small caveat of having to touch that piece of epoxy sculpt, which will not be dry until tomorrow, it's done. It was a real fun build, resin build. Resin's not always my friend, but commercial resin is amazing. Another good solid hit from Mobius, and we are a good chunk of the road, away down the road on the Gundam. Picking out the colors, like I said, was the important thing. I'm still playing with some stuff I don't feel compelled to make it any one particular canon color based on any one particular character, so there's liberty there, and I plan to take the most advantage of it. So until next week, when we are back at the Gundam, and maybe something else fun will show up next week. Who knows? Weather's starting to get nice, so bigger things can be done. More time can be spent outdoors. So until next week, I'd like to thank you for watching, and be good to each other, and we'll see you back here next week.